Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, it looks like it's a pending end of an era where lease purchase programs are under the threat of being either shut down or controlled to wazoo. Now, there are going to be a group of people who are going to be like, yes, finally, it's about time. Now, there's going to be another group of people that's going to be a little bit more upset because as far as advertisement goes, lease purchase programs are advertised as a way to ease into ownership when it comes to owning a truck. So let's chat about what is going on, why these lease purchase programs are under a new threat right now, and what it means for the future. Ready? Let's go! All right, because this is a teaching channel, while I understand that there's going to be a lot of people who know what a lease purchase program is, I know that there is also going to be a few who are not familiar with the term. So to explain it, I'm going to give you an example. You are a person who wants to one day own your truck, but unfortunately at the moment you don't have the means to actually buy a truck. So what you do is you go ahead and find a trucking company, a carrier, and you start using one of their trucks. But instead of using that truck as just a company driver who is just using the company equipment, no, you are kind of renting to own the truck one day. You make payments to the trucking company, the carrier, every single week or month, depending on what your contract states, on this truck, and eventually one day you are going to pay it off and the truck is going to be yours. Now, this sounds like a great deal for those who are looking to own a truck right now but have no means of purchasing it, or for those who have a bad credit score and cannot get financing through other channels. So it sounds like a pretty good deal, right? Well, unfortunately, most of the time it's actually not as good as it sounds. And something to note for those of you who are new to the industry and are just doing your research, lease purchase programs are not the same as leasing on to a carrier. So let's talk about what these lease purchase programs are all about. First and foremost, something to always remember is if you're doing this lease purchase program, you are almost always going to be classified as an independent contractor, despite the fact that the carrier has almost total control over your operations. Yes, you are going to be paying for pretty much all expenses. You're going to be paying for your repairs, your fuel, your tolls, and the list goes on and on. But the carrier actually ends up controlling your income side. And to top it off, not only do they control how much you make realistically, they also control other expenses such as insurance payments, truck payments, escrows, maintenance routines, where you can and cannot purchase parts for your truck, even where you can or cannot refuel. But despite the fact that the carrier again has nearly total control of your operations, and also something to note is that most of the time you will be forced to sign a document when doing this lease purchase program that you are agreeing to exclusively work for that carrier. Despite all of those facts, you're still classified as an independent contractor. And taking all of this together, the biggest issue with lease purchase programs is that in a lot of cases, at the end of the day, the driver ends up without a truck. So according to the Truck Leasing Task Force, and I'm going to chat about them a little bit later on in this video, they said motor carriers easily enforce the driver's financial obligations under these agreements because the carrier assigns the work to the driver and then manages their compensation. Now, this results in a weekly settlement, right? When you're working for a carrier, you get a weekly kind of document showing what you earned versus what your expenses were. This results in a weekly settlement that can be either zero net profit or, in the worst of cases, a negative profit, which basically means that the driver is now indebted to the carrier for this period of work and is going to have to pay for it from the next settlement period. So in order to show you an example, example of this, here it is. This is the settlement statement of someone who is fed up with the lease purchase program. And yeah, it's negative $774 for the week. Fantastic, right? Now, I want to just explain how carriers benefit from these lease purchase programs. They are widespread and it's actually pretty simple. By all accounts, this truck that is being lease purchased is actually borrowed by the driver. And this driver is now pretty much responsible for all the payments related to the truck and the operations of that truck, which means that the driver takes on the burden while the carrier saves money in that regard, while also making money from the payments on the truck. But the carrier at the same time, because the carrier is still dispatching this driver, they control fully how much income that driver makes, which means that they can actually limit one of the biggest expenses a carrier has, which is the payroll expense or the salary expense. And to top it off, a carrier ends up saving a ton of money by classifying these drivers as independent contractors, again, despite the fact that carriers have pretty much full control of that independent contractor's operations. And the way they save money there is because they don't have to have workman's comp, they don't have to pay employer taxes, and yeah, basically in these programs, all the responsibility falls on the driver while the carrier is kind of sitting back and counting cash. Now, this is not the worst part. The worst part is the real stories you hear from people, and one of the ones that keeps circulating is the fact that carriers have found a way to completely cheat drivers out of a truck. And what happens at the end when you're just this close to finally paying off that truck? The carrier starts starving you out. And it's very easy, especially in a market like this. Oh my goodness, the market is so bad. We just can't find loads for you. I'm sorry. I mean, we're doing everything we can, but we can't control the market. You default on the payments. The carrier takes back the well-maintained truck back from you after collecting all the money, and you end up in the same position that you started, less all the money that you thought you were investing into your future. So now, of course, the question, what is being done about it? Because something is being done about it right now. Well, there is such a thing as a truck leasing task force, which was established by the FMCSA. And this task force is now recommending to completely abolish lease purchase programs after conducting their research and presenting the findings in a document that I will end up linking down below in the description bar if you're interested. Their words, I'm going to quote this. Lease purchase agreements are used as irredeemable tools of fraud and driver oppression that threaten a safe national transportation system and diminish the number of truck drivers attracted to and who stay in the trucking industry. Now, sadly, this task force completely understands that abolishing such a widespread program is challenging, to say the least, so they're recommending a couple of things. Number one, they're recommending congressional oversight. They basically want Congress to provide authority to various ABC agencies to oversee these programs and provide whistleblower protection. Number two, they're recommending FMCSA oversight, and this is where the FMCSA is going to mandate carriers who actually offer lease purchase programs to keep a very detailed record of the experiences of the drivers who sign those agreements. Number three, they want a DOL, or Department of Labor Enforcement, which basically creates targeted audits towards carriers who offer these lease purchase programs in order to ensure that those drivers are classified correctly. Now, there are more recommendations that they're making, which you can read about starting on page 12 of the document that I'm linking down below. Now, usually I like to stay neutral in my videos, but I think that in this case I have completely failed. It is what it is. I can't stand them. I think these are predatory programs, not all of them, but for the most part, the way they have been abused. Yes, these are predatory programs ending up crushing all the dreams a person might have of actually owning their truck or owning their own trucking business. So if I may, I would like to give my opinion, maybe not a recommendation. I don't like giving recommendations, but my opinion to those who are looking at one day owning their truck. If you're choosing between just quickly being able to start driving with your own truck through a lease purchase program, or potentially waiting and getting your own truck by financing it or maybe paying for it cash, I would say that in this case, slow and steady usually wins the race. Now, I will always recommend, if you can, to purchase your truck outright instead of financing, because those interest rates are insane right now. However, even financing a truck is better than lease purchase programs, most lease purchase programs, because at least you're not selling your freedom to a carrier who then is able to manipulate both your expense side and your income side. And just to clarify, I am not against people leasing onto a carrier, right? This is totally different. This is when you have your own truck, you just don't have your own authority, your own MC, and you kind of work under a carrier's MC while owning your truck. But lease purchase programs are a completely different animal. What about you guys? Has anyone had a great experience with a lease purchase program? I'm sure there are going to be some people who found a decent carrier and actually had a decent experience. Or on the flip side, has anyone had any horror stories that you'd like to share? And what are your thoughts on getting rid of the lease purchase program altogether? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining and watching today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.